Peace, family. Um, the purpose of my briefly talking about the subject of Abdul Malik again is because I still hear people making the claim that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, never existed as a person, and that he really was Abdul Malik Ibn Marwan. I did a lecture called Killing Two Birds with One Stone, where we clearly laid out and showed that the Prophet Muhammad did exist and was a historical person, and that he clearly was Abdul Malik, was not Abdul Malik. So I'm not going to go into no real details about all this stuff. I just want to touch on some brief points that the people who make these claims that the Prophet Muhammad was really Abdul Malik, there is a certain part of history that they often neglect. And because they don't talk about this, you can tell that they really pseudo, or they just don't know what they're talking about, or they regurgitating something that they heard from somebody else. And mostly that's what it is anyway. They just regurgitating some old false information. So first of all, for the people, these are the same people who say they reject all hadiths or any Arab or early Islamic chronicles. If you do that, you can't even claim Abdul Malik, because most of his history is written in those collections, not only the hadith collections, but the other historians, the early historians on Islam. They talk about Abdul Malik in the Umayyad dynasty. And you would just have some different inscriptions and some other things that he did, but you wouldn't really know a lot about him. So you would have to go back to those histories anyway to learn about Abdul Malik. Nevertheless, these people never mention where does Abdul Malik come from? What is his history? What's his lineage? Now we know in Eastern culture, you often find people being called, like for instance, Abdul Malik Ibn Marwan, son of Marwan. Ibn means son. And so forth and so on. So it's easy for people to trace back their histories. This is a cultural phenomenon that's common in Eastern countries. People can trace back their lineage for generations just through their name alone. So once you ask, okay, who was Abdul Malik? Son of Marwan. Okay, who was Marwan? To find out who Marwan was, you have to go into those early accounts. That's the only writings you're going to find that's going to talk about that. And when you trace back his lineage, it's going to be clear. It's going to take you back to the different Arab tribes, and this is going to connect you to the Prophet Muhammad. It's going to be clear. It's going to connect you to the Prophet Muhammad. Not only that, they were called the Umayyads. How were they called the Umayyads? Why were they called the Umayyads? Once again, when you trace back the lineage, it's going to take you back to an ancestor whose name was Umayyad. That's where the name comes from. Okay. Another point to me that I made clear on the Killing Two Birds with One Stone lecture that nobody has yet to rebut, and we spread that out a lot in the so-called conscious community. I really don't even consider the conscious community anymore, it's just people that just got a different perspective. Because one thing I've learned is that the so-called conscious community ain't no different from the regular so-called community. Because they don't do shit and they don't do shit. And at least, the so-called regular community or non-conscious community, they got resources. In the conscious community, it's just a bunch of people talking shit at the end of the day, that don't want to unify for nothing, because it's a fake battle against religion. A fake battle against religion. And I'm not even going to get into all that. Anyway, we also know, we study history, Abdul Malik was never referred to as Muhammad. As much as these people want to keep saying that, he never was referred to as Muhammad. In fact, he had a younger brother who was named Muhammad. It was also other people before he was born that was named Muhammad. Abu Bakr Siddiq, a companion of the Prophet Muhammad, had a son named Muhammad. It was a relative of Ali, who was named Muhammad Ibn Hanifiyah, who was believed to be the Mahdi in Shia Islam, one of the Mahdis in Shia Islam. So it was other people named Muhammad besides the Prophet, peace be upon him, that came, after him, to show that it was not a title, that it was taken as a name. So once again, if you just study a little bit of the Islamic history, you'll just laugh at the whole Abdul Malik is really Muhammad thing. Then if you look at Abdul Malik's sons, his son that preceded him, Walid, when you look at the Umayyad court documents that is in existence, and you can get Patricia Crone's work on God called God's Caliphs, where she documents some of the Umayyad royal court documents and stuff like that. And he said that prophethood came to an end with Muhammad, peace be upon him, and then the dynasty of the era of the caliphs was inaugurated with us, and we was the chosen ones. And he started off talking about Uthman as being the first rightly guided Umayyad Khalifa. Once again, no damn mention of no Prophet Muhammad not existing, or that his father was the real Muhammad. It's foolishness. It's dumb scholarship. Really, the shit is laughable. And then another quick point to point out. When you look at, you also had to say that if Muhammad didn't exist, and that means no Umar, no Abu Bakr, no Uthman, no Ali, none of these companions or other people, that whole beginning history was a false history then. Because if you're saying Abdul Malik was the real Muhammad and he made up Islam, everything before him was a false history. And another thing that's laughable, that's easy to disprove, is that. Because if Islam started with Abdul Malik, as these people are alleging, where did the sectarian divides come in there? Why would you have a Shia Islam? You would never have a so-called Shia Islam if it was no real Prophet Muhammad. Because there was a struggle over what should have been the right Khalifa after the death of the Prophet. So if it was no Muhammad, it would never have been a Shia sect of Islam or Sunni sect of Islam. Then you would have the Qur'aj, that early sect. Then the whole idea of the Absids. If it was no Prophet Muhammad, it would have been no Absid, because that was another early relative of the Prophet Muhammad. When you go back through the lineage, that's where the name come from. And then if they were against the Umayyads, and the Umayyads were the creators of Islam, why would they accept Islam if they was against them? If they were trying to kill them, why would they accept Islam? Stupid. Then the last before the Abbasid overthrew the Umayyads, and they went about destroying them all. The last Umayyad descendant, he fled into Spain, Abdul Rahman, and he reinstituted the Umayyad dynasty in Spain. You find no records whatsoever of him making the claims of Abdul Malik, his relative, being the real Prophet Muhammad. None whatsoever. Go to the early Chinese accounts, and they've been Muslims for over 1,300 years. You have nobody making no claims of no damn Abdul Malik being the real Muhammad. Go into Ethiopia. This was the earliest Muhammad's version of Islam outside of Arabia. You will find in Ethiopia, same thing. No mention whatsoever of Abdul Malik being the Prophet Muhammad. So once again, like I said, for full details of what I was talking about, you can go check out my lecture, Killing Two Birds with One Stone. But besides that, anybody that you hear making these false claims that the Prophet Muhammad was really Abdul Malik, just beware, because you know you're listening to a pseudo scholar or somebody that's intentionally trying to confuse the people, or just an ignorant person. But the information is out there, it's clear. It's so much evidence to disprove that claim that Abdul Malik was the Prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessings of the Lord be upon him. So that's all I'm going to say on that subject. Peace.